From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired.
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Hello and welcome to the program. The clock ticks down on the race for the White House, and the candidates are making their final pleas to voters. We're covering it all for you right here, but first, here's a look at the latest headlines. Donald Trump demands cognitive tests for presidential candidates after Kamala Harris accuses him of being mentally unstable. The vice president made her health records public, yet Donald Trump still refuses to do the same. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin visits Ukraine in a show of solidarity. This is the Pentagon chief's final trip to Kyiv as he reassures Ukrainian leadership of continued American support. Warships of the United States and Canada sail through the Taiwan Straits as Washington calls it routine operations. The move comes a week after China held large-scale military drills around Taiwan. Cuba's power grid collapses, sending millions into darkness. The island's energy minister promises to restore electricity across the country by late Monday or early Tuesday as the government deploys the army to crack down on protests. And the World Health Organization declares Egypt malaria-free after the African country first launched efforts to combat the deadly mosquito-borne disease nearly 100 years ago. The UN public agency calls the achievement truly historic. We begin in the United States. The Pentagon is investigating an unauthorized release of classified documents outlining Israel's retaliation plan against Iran. The documents dated October 15th and 16th began circulating online after being posted on the messaging app Telegram over the weekend. House Speaker Mike Johnson has confirmed the investigation and called the leak extremely concerning. The two leaked documents detail how Israel is planning to retaliate against Iran in response for the October 1st missile attack. The first classified document reveals that Israel is moving its long-range munitions and attack drones into firing positions aimed at Iran. The second document details how the Israeli Air Force has been conducting exercises with precision weapons in preparation for a potential strike. The leaked documents had confidential markings all over them and were meant to be seen by the Five Eyes only. That is, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Of course, with only weeks before the presidential election, the issue certainly turned political as Donald Trump blamed the Biden administration for the leak and said that Israel would, in fact, go ahead with its plan to strike Iran.
Well, I think he's going to do what he wants to do, and I think he has to do that. You know, Biden was giving him some very bad. Look, Biden has been historically horrible on foreign policy, incompetent, I would say. What you do is anything he says, do the opposite, and you'll be brilliant if you do the opposite. But he gave him instructions not to do anything, and Israel was under great danger. They're under much less danger right now than they were 1 month ago. Let's face it.
If Israel attacks us, it will be a new attack. Its name is not retaliation anymore. Any attack on Iran is our red line, and we do not tolerate it. An attack on our nuclear facilities, any attack that takes place against us, will be faced with a similar attack from our side. Our reaction will be similar to the attack that is done against us. We do not hesitate in this regard. Of course, we will not be hasty too, but our response will be totally similar to the attack by Israel.
It's important to note a previous major intelligence leak from last year strained Washington's ties with its allies, particularly South Korea and Ukraine. Now, with Israel saying it will strike Iran before the U.S. election, it remains to be seen how the latest document leak will impact ties between these two allies. Washington, in fact, believes that an Israeli strike on Iran would drastically influence the presidential race. And moving to the race for the White House, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has announced that he will give away $1 million every day to a registered voter in swing states until the presidential election. The lottery-style prize will be given to someone who signs a petition by Musk campaign group America PAC, which asks them to support the First and Second Amendments. These amendments guarantee free speech and the protection of rights to keep and bear arms.
Every day from now until the election, we're giving out $1 million prize. And all you have to do is sign a petition in support of the Constitution. It's very straightforward. You don't even have to vote. You don't have to vote. You just have to sign a petition saying you believe in the Constitution, which if you already believe in the Constitution, you're just signing something you already believe, and you can win $1 million. That's awesome.
The tech billionaire who has endorsed Donald Trump's candidacy has already given out 2 checks to winners in Pennsylvania over the weekend.
So much. Oh my gosh.
Is there anything you want to say?
Well, thank you so much for, I truly believe everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Truly, you don't need to be doing, and I know a lot of us feel the same way. Your wealth and responsibility you are using to save speech, and we just all appreciate it. We really do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, Elon Musk's scheme has come under massive scrutiny, with Democrats calling for law enforcement to look into the payments. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro has called the billionaire's strategy deeply concerning. Meanwhile, election law experts say the scheme violates a prohibition on using cash to incentivize voting. The federal law clearly states that anyone who pays or offers to pay or accepts payment either for voting registration or to vote could face a $10,000 fine or a prison sentence up to 5 years. However, a loophole under American law may cover Elon Musk's scheme, as nobody is in fact being paid to vote, even though he has involved money to identify likely Republican voters. Now, apart from the $1 million prize, Musk is also offering $100 to every voter that signs his petition in Pennsylvania and an additional $100 for a successful referral. Musk has donated $75 million to America PAC that is focused on turning out voters for Donald Trump in closely contested states.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. Well, first of all, I want to say what an honor it is to be here. And, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. Fight, fight, fight! Blood coming down the face.
Election day is just 2 weeks away, and only time will tell if Elon Musk's scheme benefits Donald Trump in key swing states or if it brings legal trouble for both men. And now, one of the most important issues on voters' mind is now playing out in real time as the U.S. election reaches its dramatic conclusion. A caravan of over 2,000 migrants is making its way north from Mexico, adding fuel to the already fiery debate over immigration. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump hold vastly different views on how to handle the border crisis, and both are using this moment to define their campaigns. Fearing Donald Trump's return to the White House, more migrants are making a dash for the United States in hopes of getting in before any reprisals from a possible second Trump administration. Here's our story with more as we track the large caravan of migrants headed to the U.S. border.
In just 2 weeks, the United States will decide its next leader. But even as campaign rallies roar and candidates vie for votes, another group is racing towards the border. Over 2,000 migrants are fleeing Mexico's southern edge, hoping to make it to the U.S., anticipating a shift in the political winds.
Whoever wins in the United States election should not close the doors to us, should give us the support we need, because we are all really going through a bad time, not just us. Many people, we are going for a better future for our families, who are in Venezuela under a regime.
For better life has become a poignant symbol of what's at stake in the upcoming election.
Many of them have the American dream. I don't have the American dream. I just want a better life because they denied me my papers here in Tapachula.
Vice President Kamala Harris, who has been relentlessly targeted by the Republican Party, finds herself walking a tightrope. Her critics see her as part of the problem, pointing to the record number of migrants crossing under Biden's administration.
But my message today is very simple. No person who has inflicted the violence and terror that Kamala Harris has inflicted on this community can ever be allowed to become the President of the United States. We're not going to let it happen. And now America is known all throughout the world as occupied America. They call it occupied. We're being occupied by a criminal force. And we're an occupied state that refuses to let our great law enforcement professionals do the job that they so dearly want to do. You know, they want to do the job so badly, but they're threatened constantly.
Last December, a staggering 250,000 migrant encounters were reported at the US-Mexico border. However, since the end of 2023, the monthly number of encounters declined sharply, including large decreases in encounters with citizens of Mexico's and the Northern Triangle countries of El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. On the other side, Donald Trump has a clear and uncompromising message. He will stop illegal immigration, no matter the cost.
A lot of them are real bad people, real rough people, but they're also taking a lot of jobs from Americans, probably happened with you. And as the small number of jobs they created were all taken by illegal immigrants in the last short period of time, and we're going to make that change.
His plans to revive travel bans on Muslim-majority countries and militarize border enforcement have set the stage for an epic clash of ideologies in the final stretch of this election.
Kamala is directly responsible for the tens of thousands of crimes committed by illegal migrants. She's responsible for every bloody crime scene, every funeral, every orphan child. And blood is on her hands at a level that probably nobody's ever seen in this country before. But on November 5th, Kamala Harris will be held accountable for these crimes.
But as US politicians battle over the future of immigration, across the border, a new leader watches closely. Claudia Sheinbaum, Mexico's recently inaugurated president, is navigating her crossroads. She carries the weight of her nation's political power, and yet, with her country seeing a 160% increase in migrant encounters this year, she's under pressure to act.
Unfortunately, we have to understand that today the main business for criminal groups in Mexico is not drugs. It's not even fentanyl. The main business for criminals in this country is human trafficking. That is, taking migrants from the southern border to the northern border. There is a lot of money at stake.
The clock is ticking. For Harris and Trump, this is more than just an election. It's a battle for the future of US immigration policy. But as the November 5 election draws nearer, one question looms larger than the rest. Who will shape the fate of this unfolding human crisis?
And staying with the race for the White House, former President Donald Trump visited a McDonald's franchise and worked as an attendant in the most crucial swing state of Pennsylvania on Sunday.
At McDonald's, I'm looking for a job. Hello,
President Trump. I'm Derek Giacomontoni. I'm the owner.
Oh, well, that's a good owner. Must be a wealthy guy, huh? Thank you very much. Well, I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's, but I never did. I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So, if you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
Swapping his suit for an apron, Donald Trump cooked baskets of French fries under close supervision of an employee. He later handed out orders to happy customers through a drive-thru window, telling them he made all the food by himself. The Republican presidential nominee, whose affection for McDonald's is well known, also took a dig at Vice President Kamala Harris. Without any evidence, Donald Trump claimed Kamala Harris lied about working at a McDonald's in college.
McDonald's, I love jobs. I like to see good jobs. And I think it's inappropriate when somebody puts down all over the place that she worked at McDonald's. It was a big part of her resume that she worked at McDonald's, how tough a job it was. She specifically worked at the French fry, where they make the French fries, and she talked about the heat. It was so tough. She never worked at McDonald's. McDonald's just confirmed that again, by the way. She never worked at McDonald's. In other words, she's lying, Kamala.
Notably, the Democratic presidential hopeful's summer job in college has been a key part of her middle-class origin story. Kamala Harris says that she worked at a McDonald's back in 1983 while studying at Howard University. Her campaign has used this story to highlight the relatable aspect of her background and her understanding of working-class struggles. Meanwhile, critics argue that Donald Trump's photo op at McDonald's did little to address the issues of minimum wage workers. He dodged the questions of minimum wage, which is an important issue for fast food employees and millions of service sector employees. The latest Associated Press New York poll shows voters remain divided on whether they prefer Kamala Harris or Donald Trump to handle economic issues. While 46% of the voters support Kamala Harris on middle-class taxes, only 35% back Donald Trump. However, neither candidate has an edge on jobs and unemployment, and voters are evenly divided on the issues of rising prices of groceries and gas. Meanwhile, poll averages by the New York Times show Kamala Harris leading Donald Trump by just 1 percentage point nationally, hinting at an extremely tight race in the final days of campaigning. And finally, the race for the White House is hitting a fever pitch with just 15 days to go. Over the weekend, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump took the campaign trail by storm, each armed with star power and bold attacks. While Harris rallied with pop stars Lizzo and Usher, Trump countered with a marathon speech in Pennsylvania and support from billionaire Elon Musk. Both candidates remain laser focused on key battleground states as polls show them neck and neck. The race is turning the corner to its climactic conclusion, and the stakes have never been higher.
With just 16 days to go before America casts its ballots, the campaign trail is heating up. And Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are turning up the drama. Last weekend, both candidates brought star power to their rallies as they battled it out for voters in crucial battleground states. Kamala Harris electrified Detroit with pop sensation Lizzo by her side. Lizzo, dressed in a suffragette white pantsuit, pumped up the crowd, declaring,
"So if you ask me if America is ready for its first woman president, I only got one thing to say. It's about damn time! It's about damn time!"
The energy was palpable as Harris took the stage, drawing a sharp contrast between her platform and Trump's.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged, and it requires that response. I think the American people are seeing it, witnessing it in real time. And we must take note of the fact that this is an individual who wants to be president of the United States. And I think the American people deserve better than someone who actually seems to be unstable.
Her words were met with roaring applause as she painted Trump as exhausted and out of touch, saying he's dodging debates and interviews because he simply can't keep up.
He is someone who demeans the American people, who has no actual plan for uplifting the middle class, no actual plan that is about any sense of optimism in who the American people are and what we are capable of doing.
Then in Atlanta, Harris was joined by R&B superstar Usher.
And we have the opportunity to choose a new generation of leadership for our country.
Usher's message was clear. Georgia could swing the election and every vote counts.
We are here to support the next president of the United States.
In the Sin City, former US President Barack Obama was welcomed by a blue wave of supporters. During his 40-minute monologue, Obama questioned Trump's behavior and aging competence and encouraged voters to recognize that this election will be a tight match.
Trump's behavior of bullying people or putting them down is somehow macho, sign of strength. I'm telling you, that's not what real strength is. Never has been. Real strength's working hard. Real strength's carrying a heavy load without complaining. Real strength is about taking responsibility for your actions. Real strength is telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping those who have less or need some help, standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves.
With all the stardom and all the support, then came something heartwarming and something unexpected. Music legend Stevie Wonder surprised Harris with a soulful rendition of Happy Birthday. Harris, visibly touched, wiped away tears, underscoring the emotional stakes of this election.
We have to remind people the power they have in spite of those that would try to diminish and make people feel powerless. In spite of those who would try and suggest that, oh, if you vote, nothing will happen. For sure, if you don't vote, nothing will happen. I mean, recently I was reminded Jimmy Carter voted on his 100th birthday. Seems to me everybody can vote.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump was on his own whirlwind tour. In Pennsylvania, he was showing off his endurance with a sprawling 90-minute rally.
This is the home of my friend Arnold Palmer.
He kicked things off with a nostalgic nod to golf legend Arnold Palmer, before launching into his familiar routine of criticizing President Joe Biden of starting wars and repeating Israel's claims of doing what it deems fit.
You know, I got great credit for the economy, for the military. We were in no wars. Think of it, I started no wars. Everybody thought I'd be like in a war. I'll be in a war in 2 days. No, it didn't work out. My personality stopped wars. Stopped wars. It stopped wars in countries that we weren't even involved. I was able to stop wars with other countries that we weren't even that involved with just by making a couple of phone calls. I saved a lot of lives. And Bibi called me today and he said, it's incredible what's happened. They said, it's pretty incredible. But he wouldn't listen to Biden because if he did, they wouldn't be in this position.
Now, Trump wasn't the only star in the corner. Tech mogul Elon Musk, one of Biden's fiercest critics, was also stumping for Trump elsewhere in Pennsylvania.
Most important is that the registration deadline in Pennsylvania ends at midnight tomorrow. So after that point, people cannot register to vote. So more than anything, it's register, register, register. Only have until midnight tomorrow. So definitely hound friends, family, acquaintances, people on the street, everyone you meet, just to register. We've got to register.
As the battle for America's future intensifies, the stage is set for an electrifying final stretch. It's all or nothing, and the stakes have never been higher.
That does it for us today. It's been great having you with us. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired.
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election, explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about